Number of persons impacted by the drought reaches over 700,000. Sahanayatra convoys all set to dispatch relief items to those affected tomorrow morning. President says a kilogram of imported rice cannot be sold above 76 rupees. Prime Minister says ETCA will be implemented by mid-2017. Man deliberately drives into pedestrians in Melbourne, Australia, leaving at least 3 dead and 20 injured.
Disasters come and go, but humanity remains. The amount of people that come in to provide their aid and relief to the Sahanayatra program that is happening in our premises bears testimony to this. A very good evening to you. I am Chaturanga Porach and you're watching Primetime News on News First.
And I'm Dasni Athada. Let's start off with a look at tonight's top stories. President Maithripala Sirisena has stressed that a kilogram of imported rice cannot be sold for more than 76 rupees in the local market.
The presidential task force that was appointed to enforce the government's plan to provide relief to the people due to the existing drought met with the president today. We are aware of the annual requirement of rice, dal, sugar, salt and dried chili. We cannot have a shortage of food in the country. One cannot say that the committee report was not received or the recommendations were not provided. If a shortage of food and beverage arises in the local markets, that is a huge issue. I will take care of the committees. As a decision taken by the task force, there cannot be any shortage of food in the country. If food items need to be imported, then import them. The price of a kilogram of imported rice cannot exceed 76 rupees. Inform the traders that the government will import it and sell it at even a loss. There will be no issue from the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Trade will also have the coordinating funds. The Paddy Marketing Board has powers to inspect rice mills and check on the available stocks of rice and report to us in a week. President Maithripala Sirisena has also requested all the private institutions to join frugal way of use of power by switching off lights that are used for the advertising and decoration purposes. The president pointed out that the country has to face a power crisis in the future due to the drought situation in the country, and therefore it is the responsibility of all to use the power in an economical manner from now.
As mentioned on our headlines, the Sirasa Shakti TV1 MBC and Newsfirst Sahanayatra was launched to provide relief to our fellow Sri Lankans who have been severely affected by the drought. For more on this initiative, let's now cross over to Newsfirst. Joel Outscoon, who is at the MTV MBC head office, which is incidentally one of the collection points for public donations. Joel?
Thank you very much. A very good evening to all our viewers. Well, we are here at the head office premises of the Capital Maharaj Organisation Limited. What you see behind me is our very own brothers and sisters of the Capital Maharaj Organisation Group getting together to pack the stuff which you sent across to our dear brothers and sisters affected by the drought. Now, thousands have been affected by the drought. You may be in the comfort of your living room, your TV room or your bedroom watching us this evening. But you should always remember that there are thousands of others across the island who are suffering owing to the drought, who have no food, no cultivation, no source of income owing to this drought. So you too could be a part of this great initiative, the Sirasa Shakti MTV TV1 MBC Sahanayatra initiative, where our brothers and sisters have got together and now in the process of packing this stuff. So are you thinking that you are too late to join hands with us? No, you are not late at all. We'll be operating until 10:30. You got about 1.5 hours to come down, go into the closest supermarket, go into the closest store, get anything possible, bottled water, dry rations, anything is welcome. So come down and be a part of this great initiative, because it is a chance for you to show that humanity matters more than anything. So back to the studio. Thank you very much. We'll get in touch with you soon.
Thank you very much, Joel, for that update. In fact, as Joel told, you're not too late, because I'm going to tell you what's happening across the country in terms of the drought. Hundreds of thousands have been severely affected by the drought weather, with the number of affected exceeding 700,000 individuals.
The National Water Supply and Drainage Board has warned the general public to refrain from using the water from the Kaluganga for drinking water purposes, citing that the sea water had mixed with the river water due to the prevalent drought. The mixing of seawater with fresh water has moved 12 kilometers upstream from the Kaluganga outfall after the Kethena water treatment plant. It is from the Kethena water treatment plant that clean drinking water is supplied to around 200,000 persons living in Baduwa, Kalutara, Payagala, Perula, Alutkama and Penthara. Locals say that over the past 2 weeks, the salinity levels of the water provided is more than the usual level.
අපට ලැබෙන ජලය ලුණු රසයි. රිදිසෝ දාන්නවත් බීමටවත් බෑ.
ගොඩක් දුර තමයි ලිඳක් තියෙන. ඉතින් වතුර ගේන්න යන හරි අමාරුයි අපිට.
අවුරුද්දකට දෙපාරක් මේ ලුණු ප්‍රශ්නේ එනවා. අවුරුදු 10ක් වෙලා කලින් මේක තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මේකට කවුරු හරි බලධාරීන් එකතු වෙලා හරි විසඳුමක් දෙන්නේ කියලා මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
As a result of this situation, steps have been taken to provide the water to the Kalutara area using bowsers and water tanks. 12 bowsers have been dispatched. 225 water tanks have also been set up across the area to meet the drinking water requirements. The Puttalam district too has been severely affected due to the dry weather. Farmers in the district lament that they are facing much difficulties as a result of the tub-over tank drying up.
කුඹුරු දක්වාම ඉවරටම ඉවරෙන්න නියඟේ බලපාලා තියෙනවා. දැන් ඇත්තටම සීදි නසා ගන්න තත්ත්වයට අදපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. සුනාමියක් ආවා වගේ තමයි මේක එකපාරටම පෑවිල්ලල්ලුවයි. සතෙකුට පාව බොන්න වතුර ටිකක් නැති තත්ත්වයක් උදාලා තියෙනවා. මොනවා කරන්නද කියන එක කිසිම කෙනෙකුට වටහා ගන්න බැරි තත්ත්වයක් තියෙනවා.
While over 700,000 people have been affected as a result of the drought, the district which has been affected the most is the Batiklo district. The number of people affected in the Batiklo district stands at 302,500 people. The drought has severely affected the Jaffna district as well. The Disaster Management Centre says that over 95,000 people in the district are suffering due to the lack of water.
The public response we received for the Sahan Yatra program, as usual, was immense. Samaritans in their numbers handed in their donations to the Sirasa Shakti TV1, MBC and Newsfirst Sahan Yatra that was launched to provide aid to our very own brothers and sisters affected by the drought.
Donations were pouring in since this morning at the MTV MBC head office premises located down Brebru Place in Colombo too. The affected people are unable to tend to their farms. Many farmlands have been destroyed. We must not forget that these are the people who provide rice to the entire nation. We must do what we can for them.
I was very happy to see that the Maharaja group is doing a great service to the country. So that's what really motivated me to come. I would advise everybody out there, kindly, generously contribute towards this good service.
Every time there is a occasion of need, Sirasa always comes forward. So we thought we also must, from this end, help some of our brethren who are really suffering due to the severe drought.
අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා ගම්මැද්ද වැඩසටහනේ මහා විශාල සත්කාරයක් කෙරුවා. ඒ වගේම මේ සත්කාරයත් අදවතර දැනෙන මිනිස්සු ඔච්චර දුක් විඳිනවද කියලා.
වතුරෙන් අපි දුක් විඳලා තියෙනවා ඉස්සර. ඉතින් ඒ හින්දා අපිට මේ සත්කාරය කරන්න හිතුණා.
මේ කොයිතරම් අපහසුයෙන් මිනිස්සු ජීවත් වෙනවද කියලා හිතලා අපි මේ වැඩේට ඉදිරිපත් වුණා.
ඉතින් අපි මහජනයාගෙන් මුදල් වලින් යැපෙන විශ්‍රාමිකයෝ. ඉතින් අපිට මේ විදිහේ දෙයකට පිහිටවෙන්න ලැබුණ එක හිතම් වාසනාවන්ත දෙයක් කියලා මම හිතනවා.
Public donations were also collected at the Stein Studios in Ratmalana, the Department Studio Complex, and at the Harrison office located down Dali Road. We in Colombo would not feel this a lot. We are the ones who could aid this initiative. Come and donate even a bottle of water.
දැන් මේ මිනිස්සු කොච්චරක් දුක් විඳින වතුර ගැන අත්‍යවශ්‍යම දෙයක් නේ මම.
ඒ විශ්වාසයෙන් තමයි අපි හැමදේම කරන්නේ. බොහොම ස්තුතියි ඔයගලන්ට.
මං හිතන්නේ මුළු රටවැසියෝ කොහොම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
Water tanks provided by PE Plus Private Limited will be taken to the drought-affected areas tomorrow and will be established in those areas. The donations that were collected will be taken to the affected areas tomorrow morning.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, speaking to NDTV in Davos, Switzerland, commented on the implementation of EPCA.
But did you not do a U-turn from opposing it, calling it a swimming pool, to making it 15,000 acres?
There was no 50,000 acres.
Right.
Of the two bidders, it was given to China merchants, and they wanted 1,300 acres because they want to make it the container terminal, international container terminal for Indian Ocean. Right. We went to Shenzhen. They showed us the operation. That was going to be a mini one because of the Chinese activity and the shipping that they said was going to increase.
So what is the 15,000 acres? That's the hinterland of the core.
We also had to develop cargo from Sri Lanka.
Right.
And that meant that we needed, according to the Chinese, at least 2,000 factories, large ones. We also felt we needed 2,000 to 3,000 factories depending on the size. Then looking at the land for the factories, the industrial estates, the roads, the water supply systems, the warehouses, then housing for the additional people, town, you needed about 15,000 acres of land had to be available. Right. If it's going to be a success.
So it is 15,000 acres.
Non-start. 15 had to be available to the government of Sri Lanka to make available to investors, to the provincial councils to start schools.
So the correct picture is 15,000, but even India can invest there.
Anyone can invest.
So tell me, you want India to come into Sri Lanka?
We want India to come in. And
why are they not coming then, India? What is happening?
No,
is there likelihood that something will happen by the end of this year?
It will happen. There are 2-3 issues. One is we want to complete the economic and technological cooperation agreement between India and Sri Lanka.
It will happen when?
It will be before mid this year.
Mid this year. Yeah. And what is Mr. Rajapaksa doing at the moment?
He leads one of the factions in the SLFP which calls itself the joint opposition. And well, actually the only protest against Hambantota was led by him. So we've all been, the whole country.
Who he started.
Kabir Hashim, the Minister of Public Enterprise Development, responded to allegations raised by the joint opposition over Sri Lankan Airlines deals.
What they did was something similar to using a bottomless bucket to cover their nakedness. When Mahinda Rajapaksa was overseas, they terminated their agreement with Emirates after a fallout with then CEO Peter Hill and thereafter removed him from his post. The control was taken over by Sri Lankan Airlines. Annual gross profit for 2008 was 4.4 billion rupees. When we took it over in 2015, the airline accumulated debt mounting to $1 billion or 150 billion rupees. If we had saved that money, we could have constructed another 150 schools or 75 hospitals with 300 beds. During his 10 years when this was taking place, Mahinda Rajapaksa did not speak of it.
The minister also revealed of a luxury plane being prepared for the former head of state.
In 2014, when they were living a luxurious lifestyle, the brother-in-law of Mahinda Rajapaksa purchased an A380 aircraft on behalf of Mahinda Rajapaksa and removed half of the content to prepare it to a luxury level. The super unit was prepared in a manner where it can be installed whenever the so-called royal family was travelling. We were compelled to terminate that.
The minister elaborated on the decision made to terminate agreements reached to lease 4 Airbus aircraft during the time of Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The long-term monthly lease agreement was entered into with a company named AirCap. According to the agreement, the monthly cost for an aircraft was $1.4 million. During that time, the monthly lease rate that existed in the market was $950,000. But they signed a deal for $1.4 million when they could have gone for $950,000. Isn't this fraud? Isn't this corruption?
The minister explained the reason for why compensation had to be paid when the deal was terminated, as no exit clauses was included in the agreement.
To cancel all 4 or only 3?
No, one was cancelled previously. There were 4 aircrafts. One of the aircrafts was cancelled previously at a termination fee of $17 million. Because that was, the delivery date was earlier than these 3. So therefore it was cancelled earlier at $17 million. These 3 aircrafts $98 million was the first payment.
Details were also given regarding the progress made in restructuring Sri Lankan Airlines.
Three companies were shortlisted. One is an American restructuring company called TPG. The other one is Peace Air.
Peace Air, and there's another Maldivian company.
It was these three companies that were shortlisted. The problem that exists here is that none of the companies included in the shortlist have any experience in managing an international airline. However, the American company named TPG is well renowned for restructuring businesses. Now, a special committee that was appointed to look into this has compiled a report, and this has been submitted to the Prime Minister. The committee was appointed by the Prime Minister to study the three applicants and find the most suitable one. The Prime Minister also said that if the last Economic Management Committee could not find a suitable candidate, that a new official committee comprising of 3 ministers be appointed to look into the restructuring of Sri Lankan Airlines. The Prime Minister said that power will be vested in the committee to once again look for a suitable company to manage the airline.
SLFP activists convened a media briefing in Puttalam today.
They are nabbing those misused property and wasted public money. What takes place when they are nabbed? You are well aware of those lies. Lands were taken and clay was extracted. You are aware of the intimidation. These are the persons who are doing it today. Many of those persons have committed these wrongs. One by one they are coming out in the open with theft and intimidation. On the 27th they are going to make a failed attempt to cover it up. Dalasala Perumal resigned from the post of organizer of the Padayatra. The people understood the nature of the loss. It was a failure. The 27th will also be the same.
Ceylon Local News MP Harshana Rajakaruna commented on the GSP Plus at a media briefing convened at the Government Information Department.
GSP Plus sahanadare labag ganna.
Since the election, the Government of Good Governance worked with commitment in order to obtain the GSP Plus concessions. Now we have reached the level where we'll be provided with the EU approval. People who cannot handle this success are berating it. It does not matter if it is the United National Party, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party or the joint opposition. Everyone in the country will benefit from this. Therefore, do not stand in the way of this. Ever since we lost the GSP Plus in 2009, how many attempted to regain it? Not even one single minister of the Rajapaksa administration who claimed they went international was able to come close to it. Can you tell me about a factory that provided at least 50 jobs during his tenure for the 9 years? One factory for salmon tins and milk cans was set up in Galle. Lino must be imported from China for 6 months, therefore it shut down. This is what they inaugurated. 2 to 3 million was spent on the celebrations alone. One deception was the Tharuniya Hetak. Therefore, these people are not prepared to be deceived again.
The newly constructed building of the Tissa Maharama District Court was declared open by the Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa today.
They imposed conditions on us when granting the GSP Plus concession. When we were exporting fish to the EU, they imposed conditions and we complied with them. They have several conditions to which we agreed and to some which we have not agreed. We were also asked to legalize homosexuality in the country. The Europeans asked us to include it in the clauses of fundamental rights of the Constitution. We clearly told them that although they have a culture of indecency, Sri Lankans are not people with such mental illnesses.
As we promised yesterday, we have a special segment on the US presidential inauguration, which is set to take place in a few hours. We have Ramesh Irgal Bandara joining us from the newsroom. Ramesh?
Good evening, Chaturanga. Good evening to all our viewers. Well, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States of America in nearly about an hour's time. It's to noon local time when Donald Trump will be taking the oath of office at the Capitol House. And of course, we will be bringing you updates from Capitol Hill tomorrow as well. But before we get on to the inauguration, we have several updates lined up for you. We were watching the visuals that were coming in from Washington a short while ago. We saw Hillary Clinton, the defeated presidential candidate of the Democratic Party, coming in for the inauguration, along with Bernie Sanders, who contested with her for the primaries of the Democratic National Party. Now, there were talks about a boycott, there were talks about protests, there are protests happening in Washington. So let's cross over to Sam Quinney, who is in Washington, D.C. for this update.
Good morning from Washington, D.C., where crowds are already building ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration. Right now, it is about 5 o'clock in the morning, and you can see people are already lined up here. We've been seeing people praying and singing this morning, waiting for the security gates to open, which will happen in about 1 hour. Up the street, you can see some of the security that is taking place. You have dump trucks that are filled with sand blocking off all of the streets here in downtown Washington. Certainly a sight to see. The temperature really not so bad. It is above freezing, which is much different than what we saw back in 2009 for Barack Obama's first presidential inauguration. About 1 million people are expected here in downtown Washington today, and there are more than 30,000 law enforcement officials who have traveled to D.C. from all across the country. It is going to be an interesting day, to say the least, and we're going to keep you updated. I'm Sam Sweeney for News First in Washington.
Sam Sweeney from Washington, D.C. To make head and tail of the inauguration, we have with us an expert, research associate of the BCIS, George Cook. Hello, George.
Hello, Ramesh. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Definitely, and we always love to have the BCIS with News First, as always. First question, George. Now, we heard about protests taking place in Washington. We heard about a possible boycott by Democratic candidates and senators. Is this the first time that this is happening?
It's not. And that's something that's been going on for quite some time, and it's unfortunate that you have protests at some time, but this is a democracy and it is part and parcel of the democratic process. You can't exclude a protest or two taking place, and of course we've seen quite a lot breaking out at the moment, but of course this is democracy at play, this is democracy at work, this is part and parcel of it. You can't please all the people all the time, as is the case anywhere in the world, and you've got to accept and move on. And well, the inauguration is about to begin. If I'm not mistaken, President Obama has already left the White House. He's on his way with President-elect Trump, and the ceremony will go on.
Now, Donald Trump has been a man who defied polls, who defied critics, and he had a controversial pick for a number of his key cabinet positions. Key among them, what would affect Sri Lanka, would be the Secretary of State. Rex Tillerson, a businessman much like Donald Trump, takes over from John Kerry. Tillerson has a lot of connections with Russia and the rest of the world. He was the former chief of ExxonMobil as well. How do you think Tillerson's appointment, or would there be any impact on Sri Lanka from Tillerson's appointment?
He certainly brings a lot of freshness into the job. He's coming from the private sector. He's looking for efficiency. He's looking for working around the world. And they're looking for the best deals for America. And that's what comes number one on the list from an American perspective. From a Sri Lankan perspective, of course, we've got to wait and see. We don't know. They've spoken about India. They've spoken about Pakistan. Sri Lanka will figure way down the line. But of course, we've already had connections being made between the Vice President-elect and President Sirisena, which is something extremely positive to be noted. And this could be a positive sign for things to come, because Secretary of State-elect, or well, the one who's going to be inaugurated hopefully at some point, Mr. Tillerson, he's someone who has come from a background in which he has been an extremely shrewd businessman. He's been extremely shrewd in his dealings. He knows the inside out of many parts of the world in which he has dealt with. He's no newcomer to global politics at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, George, we'll have to keep it at that. We will, of course, be turning to the BCIS again for expert analysis on the US presidential election. We will have updates tomorrow as well, and visuals of the inauguration. That's it from the newsroom. It's back to the studio.
The news, a boat service was inaugurated in Jaffna today under the auspices of Minister Faisal Mustafa. Speaking at the opening ceremony, the minister expressed these views.
I know when it comes to minority politics, it's very easy to use one's ethnicity as the platform. Minority politics succeeded because national parties has failed to address the issues of minorities. So it's a two-way process. Today, minority parties should consider giving Sri Lankan identity. What is just for Sri Lanka? Priority. Meantime, national parties should be more focused in addressing issues of the minority community.
28% of the land reclamation work of Sri Lanka's flagship Port City development project has been completed.
For the Port City project, an area of 269 hectares is earmarked to be reclaimed from the sea and a brand new city is to be constructed. Plans are in the pipeline to establish a financial centre, hotels, residential complexes, parks, a marina and a new beachfront in the Port City. The Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development says that as of now, 28% of the land reclamation work has been completed. Subject Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka engaged in an inspection tour of the Port City project area recently. The minister said that the Port City project recommenced after issues that surrounded the project in the recent past were cleared. Sand needed for the reclamation work is being obtained from the deep sea, 5 kilometers off the shores of Negombo and Chilau. Yesterday, journalists were given an opportunity to visit a state-of-the-art ship equipped with the latest technology to pump sand from the seabed. The first phase of the Port City project, which is the reclamation of land, is scheduled to be completed by December 2018.
Before we wrap up, the International Commission of Jurists, or ICJ, says that the Sri Lankan government must deliver on the clear demand for justice from Sri Lankans nationwide by implementing the consultation task force recommendations without further delay. You can simply log on to www.newsfirst.lk and follow all these stories and more that we all have for the day.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News tonight. For the News First team, I'm Dasni Athada.
I'm Saturang Hapwarache. A quick reminder to you once again, as our friend Joel Outspoon, who is reporting from downstairs, said, it is still not too late. We'll be operating till midnight today. You can hand in your donations to the people so that we can take it to them and they can have a happy day tomorrow. I'm Saturang Hapwarache. Take care and good night.